नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग सारे दोस्तों को, भाइयों बहनों को नमस्कार. We are back again and we are back on a topic which is close to our heart, जम्मू कश्मीर. और आज मेरे साथ एकदम डाइवर्स पैनल है. मेरे साथ जावेद बेग जी हैं, मेरे साथ अजय भारती हैं, मेरे साथ याना मीर है और मेरे साथ शक्ति मुंशी जी हैं. I will introduce all of them. Topic today is Jammu Kashmir, where we'll talk about the delimitation issues, why people are unhappy or happy about it. We'll talk about the current scenario in Jammu Kashmir. You'll remember I had a session on the situation in Jammu Kashmir with two youths from Kashmir Valley, two from Jammu region, and we had very positive feedback. It was a wonderful session. Of them, Yana Mir is here today again. So I'll introduce the panel. Javed Beigh ji, General Secretary of People's Democratic Front Secular, is a prolific writer and debater, research scholar, specialized on Sufism and Kashmiri culture. He is writing a book which is to be released in 2022. That is The Trail of Kashmiriyat and Sufiyat, Ruhaniyat ka Safar. And he's a target of 100 short films and documentaries on history, culture, and of undivided Jammu Kashmir. We have Ajey Bharti ji. He's an ex-MLC. He was an MLC from 20th April to 31st October 2019. He was a member of many house committees on very diverse subjects. And he was editor of Swadeshi Patrika from 2007 to 2017 about the Swadeshi movement, what Modi ji called, local for local, and also Atmanirbhar Bharat. And then we have Yana Mir. We have people in Jammu Kashmir know her very well. She is vice president of all Jammu Kashmir Youth Society. She is a bold, fearless editor of the REal Kashmir news. We know how the situation is in Kashmir, but she has boldly been working in that area for a long time now. We have Shakti Munshi ji. She is a Kashmiri Hindu. Very good friend of mine. I must make the disclosure. Just next door neighbor to me. And she has been working for Jammu Kashmir and for Kashmiri Hindus particularly for last 15 years. She's a MSc, she's an MBA, was very successful senior corporate manager who has worked in Middle East and also in other areas of the world. Very successful entrepreneur. A very fiery lady whom people when they cross swords regret later. And uncompromising on her goal, on her objectives of providing support to Kashmiri Hindus wherever required in whatever form. And she's working very feverishly these days on getting domicile status for a maximum number of Jammu Kashmiri Pandits who have been stuck with some complex rules or who are not around to fill the forms properly. She's helping them, and the number is very large, and she will talk about them. With this introduction, I will also say what basically this session is going to be. Not many issues, not too many debates. One is delimitation. Why are some people unhappy? Why some people are severely critical? And why some are satisfied but not so satisfied? I'll also talk about the current scenario. We talked about it 7 months back. Now, what is the current scenario? What's spurred in terror activities? Who are backing these people in the valley? What is Gupkar gang role in this? And third issue is the domicile status on which Shakti is working. And despite all this work of the government of nullification of 370, somebody might ask then why Kashmiri Hindus are not very happy and they have questions. So what is it that they're looking for? What is their unified view? Because there are too many views. So these are the issues we'll touch upon, and we will try to finish it in less than 60 minutes. I will request all the speakers not to respond in more than 2 to 3 minutes where possible, because I don't like to disturb anybody who is putting his or her views through. So on that account, if that happens, we'll be able to take many more question answers. That is my request. So I'll begin with the delimitation process. Now, this delimitation process being done on the census of 2011, as far as I know. So what is the status today and what is the reaction of people? I'll begin with the valley. So Javed ji, your views.
Well, this delimitation process is a business as usual. It was, as it is going across country in 225, it was supposed to be done in 225, but in Kashmir, since this article was abrogated, Article 370-35A, and erstwhile state of J&K was brought to Union Territory. So this is, specially done in J&K. Well, as per census 2011, the population of Kashmir division is more than the population of Jammu division. So naturally, the seats would have been, more seats would have been allocated to Kashmir. But then topography of Jammu is more than Kashmir. So there are many factors which were added before drafting the first recommendation. I mean, which Delimitation Commission has proposed 6 new constituencies for Jammu division and 1 for Kashmir. See, there has to be mixed response from the people across political spectrum. As far as my views are concerned, my political party or my political ideology, anything and everything New Delhi does for the welfare of people of Jammu and Kashmir, irrespective of region, division, religion, or political ideology. But I was actually, viewing this whole exercise as 4 and 3, either sides, because I also met as a delegation. I was given the charge of to head that delegation. We were 5-member delegation from my political party. I also met Ranjana Desai ji, who was heading Delimitation Commission. I held, I think, a meeting for more than 25 minutes with her. We were assured that equal share of seats will be given to either divisions of J&K. But we can't help it. When we heard 6-1, we have to face people here, because people will question us. They won't go to Delimitation Commission. I am not with those views which are coming from so-called PAGD or other political parties, but this is what I feel as a Kashmiri before I am a responsible member of any political party or general secretary of any political party. I am a Kashmiri citizen of J&K, and this division, Jammu division and Kashmir division, this has been created 70 years ago, and people are living in that division. When we talk about Jammu and Kashmir, most of the times, even leaders of national stature, they also say Kashmir. But there are 2 divisions. Jammu is a different division, Kashmir is a different division. This is one state, or you can say one union territory. But people are living with this mindset. Jammu division, naturally, this thing comes into our mind. It is Hindu dominant. Kashmir division, it is Muslim dominant. So these people who are part of this PAGD, they don't have anything to sell. Rather, they're trying to sell these things. See, New Delhi is again suppressing us, disempowering Kashmiri Muslims, lodging Kashmiri identity within J&K. So they are trying to provoke people, they are trying to instigate people, because they have nothing to sell. As of now, if we look at political agenda for these political parties, they have nothing to sell, because they were selling false narratives for last 7 decades. Some people were selling, will bring autonomy, khud makhtari. That proved a hoax. Others, for last 3 decades, they tried to sell self-rule, achievable nationhood, blah, blah, blah. Again, they failed. Now, they have nothing to sell, so they are always looking for the mistakes New Delhi will commit. I see this Delimitation Commission's first draft meetings proposal as not so good. As a Kashmiri citizen, as a citizen of JNK, as a citizen of India, I strongly believe in the idea of India. I have faith in diversity in unity, or unity in diversity, but I won't say I am fully satisfied with
Right.
their recommendations of
Thank you so
delimitation.
much. We will have very frank discussion. We have no problem with anybody sharing any kind of views. That is the whole idea. Ajay ji from Jammu. So he has also been part of these delimitation activities, and he has been part of the earlier delegations. So a person from Jammu who looks at Jammu Kashmir in a unified way, and who looks at the entire exercise, has been struggling for many years on this. I may also add that when I did my research on my book, which is on the back, Ajay ji gave me a lot of support. I met many people there in Jammu, and that was very great help. So Ajay ji, generally we don't cut each other's points, but you want to any point where there is misunderstanding, or you want to express view on what is right or wrong with delimitation, please go ahead.
Thank you, Ratan Sharda ji, for giving me an opportunity
And
to.
one more small thing, I have sent all of you the live YouTube link. So those who want to view this live on YouTube, they can use that link, because I will not allow others to enter the this discussion, because that creates a problem. Sometimes somebody does something and it distracts on the discussion. So that's why I'm sharing that you have got the YouTube link now. So yes, Ajay ji, sorry.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity. I will take it in a different direction. In fact,
this discussion, because that creates a problem. Sometimes somebody does something. मुझे लगता है YouTube किसी का चल रहा है पीछे. So that's why I respect you. हाँ जी. ठीक है.
So we will have to look at it from a different angle, from the way I am looking at it, and we must come out of this 6:1 ratio. Even this response is speculative. We will have to go back to the first delimitation that happened in Jammu and Kashmir, and to the representation of People's Act that was in operation in Jammu and Kashmir, as well as state of Jammu and Kashmir. When on 1st May of 1951, Sadr Riyasat Dr. Karan Singh ji issued proclamation for constituting a constituent assembly, the broader parameters decided were that for every constituency there must be 40,000 population, which was not adhered to, even though the Representation of People's Act had equal thrust on 4 parameters. It was on the population. There was no difference, as is in the National Act. In Jammu and Kashmir People's Representation Act 1957, there was equal thrust on all the 4 parameters, that uses geographical compactness, population, communication within the this constituency, and nature of terrain. But for last 7 decades, this was not adhered to. Even if we take pure population as the basis, the distribution of seats was total in disregard to the even population. Say, for example, if I say the 1951 census, which was average of 41 and 61 census, it was interpolated in that mean way, was taken. Ratio, the share of Jammu was less than the percentage of population it had at that particular point, according to the census records. It was Valley had a population census or a share of 54%, and according to that percentage, the seats it should have got, it must have been 39, at the maximum 40, but it was given 43, and Jammu was given just 30 seats, while as it qualified for 34 seats, according to the population only, keeping all other factors aside. But that was not done. So Jammu was always protesting about this unfair share of representation. But as a resident of Valley, particularly of the area Kamras, which is these days being termed as Northern Kashmir, that too was denied the due share. You will be, Shardaji, you will be very surprised to see that once 43-30 ratio was changed to 42 and 31. What was done was that a constituency in Jammu region was created by the name of Bani Hal. Pure religious consideration, pure religious consideration. Again, in 1975, we see a defreezing of one seat from POJK. A seat was created in Punch area of Jammu region. Again, pure on religious considerations till that time. Same happened in 2001 census when 1996 this delimitation happened. But what has happened this time? The Delimitation Commission has created a formula which was shared with the associate members. And I have credible information that when the formula was shared with the members, they were satisfied. Even Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, the MOS in PMO, shared that view in a statement with the media. So once that principle was established and all the members established, agreed to that, or in a way appreciated that, when that was applied, the problem arose there. Now what is happening is, when we see it to the distribution as Jammu versus Kashmir, we see 6:1. But when we apply the principle, then we see that even the Jammu district, for example, which has a huge population and has only 11 seats, it should have been better represented. It does not get any additional seat. The districts which gets extra seat is in Doda, is in Kishtwar, is in Riyasi, is in Kutwa and Rajouri. Diverse area based on certain factors which are again approved by the, or is mandated by the act itself. They include the different, for example, in Uttarakhand in early 2000, when there was plain and these hilly areas were differentiated, and provision of having 10% plus minus population ratio was allowed by the act itself. Same principle has been applied it according to the information we are getting, because the report is not in pub. And second thing, when this was shared with the people, they were these associate members, they were asked to submit their objections, if any. After that, we are told that once they submit their objections, the interim report will be put into the public domain for objections and any suggestions if people have. But what has happened in meanwhile, since these associate members from Kashmir Valley belonging to the National Conference understand that the principle is correct, this is my understanding. Since they know and they cannot challenge it, that is why they are trying to hoodwink the commission by mobilizing the public and creating a public pressure. I was referring to the 43 seats which were reduced from Kashmir Valley and reduced to 42, and one seat was taken away from which area? Because we have seen that Srinagar area and Anantnag area have been politically active. The northern side of the Kashmir has been a little voiceless. So that seat was taken from that area. Now this commission allots that seat to Kupwara district also, keeping in view the terrain and the population, the mix of both these things. I honestly believe that it is only because the members who got the report, who understood the formula and think that there is no loophole in that, they are trying to mobilize people on pure religious basis, the practice that has been in use in Jammu and Kashmir for last so many decades. Delimitation Commission had made it clear that we are not looking at Jammu Kashmir as divisions. We have to delimit 90 seats in the union territory. Now union territory, in future again a state, as promised by Honorable Home Minister, that we have to delimit 90 seats in 20 districts of Jammu and Kashmir. And what they have right now done is that allotted seats to the districts. And again, when districts were created here, there was a lot of anomaly and there was a lot of noise. Public rejected certain areas, certain things. Presently, we have another issue which people are trying to ignore. Certain territorial constituencies of the LSY Jammu and Kashmir state are falling in two different districts, they will have to come to single unit. They cannot be one territorial constituency in single
Ajay,
district.
I think we got the hang of why this delimitation, why these changes are happening. We will not get into details of each district. You have made the
Okay.
point very well. And I think it may not satisfy Javed ji, but I think there are two sides to every discussion, two sides to every truth. And people who have been habituated to having lion's share in ruling and in governance would feel that their privilege is being taken away. But that's a discussion for the local Jammu Kashmir people to get into. I'm not going to express my views. I think both people have their view. Now, Yana, you have anything to add in a short, because these two people have panelists have given a detailed view. If, as a journalist, what is your any input, additional input?
See, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, very well.
So, first of all, the best part about this commission on delimitation that happened was that the reservation for the scheduled tribes, for the backward classes, that was the best part of that commission. Now, regarding this controversial, I'll just add to why that was good, because there were irregularities in terms of elections that were happening. People from Gupkar were contesting from backward areas like Gurez and all that. So that was very unfair. Now what's going to happen is a representative of the scheduled caste will contest elections from his area. So that will be the representative. So that is definitely a plus point that came out of this commission. Now the controversial, one seat for Kashmir and the rest for 6, I think, right? 6 for Jammu and 1 for Kashmir. Now that is what's irking them. Fine, I understand, but they have to.
May I ask, is there any seat reserved for women also in the new elections, or there is no special reservation for women?
No, I don't think there is any. It's
there is no. But there is a provision that if the LG feels that they are underrepresented, 2 members from the women will be nominated.
Okay.
Yeah. So now talking about that controversial seat share thing. Yes, see, if we don't get into the details, because the details that Ajey Bharti ji is saying, definitely a layman will not understand. The normal जो जनता होती है, आवाम, public जिसको हम कहते हैं, they will not understand these nitty-gritties of how they came to this decision. But if I can break it up for the awam in simpler way, I will try to. So awam has to understand कि what are these seats? These are representations and voices of the people. And जो इतने सालों के साथ, like Ratan Sharda ji, you said कि Kashmir Valley had the lion's share of representation of the people. लेकिन जो इनके लीडर्स बने इस रिप्रेजेंटेशन के थ्रू, जो लीडर्स बने, were they actually representing the Jammu side? जो जावेद साहब ने भी एक पॉइंट बोला कि यहाँ पे people are living in that psychosis के there are 2 different divisions of Jammu and Kashmir. We are all one, but they are living with that thing that we are separate, and they are separate. We are Muslims, they are Hindus. Who created that division? It is the very people who have the lion's share.
It is not just Hindu Muslim. There is also a rift between Dogras and the Kashmiri Hindus.
Yes, but who created this rift, sir? Who created this rift? It was created by those very people who had the lion's share, which you spoke about, who had the lion's share of representation. Now I'll give you a simple example for all my awam to hear. See, if you take your Jammuites as your own brothers, because Jammu Kashmir is one, have you ever wondered if you take your if you take your Kashmiri Pandit brothers as your own brothers, if you take them, if you take them as your own brother, have you ever thought about it? Why your leaders who had the lion's share of representation, why they never had an outrage when Hindus were dying of terrorism? Why the outrage was always when a Muslim was dying? So who actually created this rift? When Hindus died, when Dr. Bindru died, all Kashmiri Muslims here were heartbroken. But I want to ask my Kashmiri Muslims, my community, were you also not heartbroken when Bindru ji ke liye there was no outrage by your Mehbooba Mufti or by your Abdullah? There was no outrage. Why is there not the same kind of outrage for our Hindu population like there is for Muslims? See, the day my leaders start showing the same kind of love they have for people of Jammu as much as they have for people of Kashmir, then yes, even I will fight for this point, as per the population, Kashmir must have more seats. But because I have seen this, I have seen them differentiating. I have seen them not standing up for privileges of people of Jammu, for rights of people of Jammu, or for the Hindus of Jammu and Kashmir, when I have not seen them stand up for their rights, their right to security, their right to development, when I have not seen them standing up for those things, I will not put my Hindu brothers more into turmoil by saying that there should be more seats given to these people who don't stand up for them. So this is the simple way in which I
Right.
can imagine this entire situation.
शक्ति
एक
जी,
छोटा सा बिंदु रतन जी, एक छोटा सा बिंदु इसमें ऐड करना चाहता हूँ जो याना जी
घंटे के अंदर पूरा करना है। हाँ जी,
बस एक 30 सेकंड में हमारे जो कश्मीर घाटी से मेंबर पार्लियामेंट बने हैं आज तक, जिनको कश्मीरी हिंदू ने भी वोट डाला, जब से रिकॉर्ड गूगल पर आया है या ऑनलाइन है, एक बार भी किसी भी एक मेंबर ने एक क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा हमारे बारे में, बस इतना,
ठीक है
नॉट
जी।
ए सिंगल क्वेश्चन।
हाँ बिल्कुल। तो शक्ति जी, since you are working on this domicile and voting ID, I will take that up first because there are questions. Ashok Pandit is asking that what about Kashmiri Hindus who are not residents of Jammu Kashmir, what will happen to their voting rights and their domicile? So, but before that, since you are working on this, on delimitation, you have any point to add from what others have said already?
Yeah, actually most of them have covered both the sides, somebody for, somebody against, but I would only like to say that we as the people, like all of us, are from that place, and there's a lot of water that has flown under the bridge, which was not very correct for many people. Let's not re-talk about our hurts and deprivations, because that way we can't come together and close. So as Yana said that, yes, all this mess is because of your leaders. So shouldn't we as the people of that region not believe them anymore, or not believe their propaganda, because that's happening only for themselves? There has been, from since 61, Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad himself, who was the PM then, admitted, I can tell you of 3 seats that were gerrymandered, Kashmir mein Habba Kadal, Baramulla and Anantnag, till 61. There was a Kashmiri Hindu representing that. They did gerrymandering and took that away. But I don't want to talk of the pain, because what happens is when you revisit your pain, you don't come close to each other. So what I'm saying is, let us trust that we have got an opportunity to move forward now. So let's all trust each other that we will all forget what the politicians are saying. We are intelligent citizens of that place. We are representing that place, and we are social activists, most of us. So let us be intelligent enough to tell the people, to educate the people wherever the doubts are rising, that this is not unfair to anybody. Because if you really see, in 2 minutes, Ratan Sharda Jammu, if you really see 2001, the population of Jammu, according to the census of from 71 to 2001, was 31% growth. And suddenly, it goes down to 2011, it goes down to 21%. Where did the 10% disappear? To the Jammu region has been discriminated. And I'm taking myself as a Kashmir Valley person. I'm not taking myself as a Jammu person. हमने उनके साथ बहुत अन्याय बहुत देर तक किया है, So let this happen. If where did the 10% go? Where did the 10% of the population go? That they are saying has been decreased.
In fact, to add to what you said, when I talked to Professor Hari Om, who is of course very strong opinionated person, he said the census itself, he questioned the census itself.
Yes, even I question the census itself.
That census were probably done sitting in the offices, not really on the field.
Exactly.
He gave many figures. But then ideally we should have had the new census before we had the delimitation. But anyway, that has happened now.
There is a lot of objection on the census year of 2011 being used.
Yes.
Because suddenly there's a 15 lakh. In 2002, there were 2 lakh extra.
But now since
in Jammu.
Since the die has been cast, I would have, as a person, a normal voter of this Indian citizen, I would have said कि भैया 2021 का ले लो, इतने साल अगर इलेक्शन टेढ़े मेढ़े होते रहे तो सही कर लो, 2021 का सेंसस भी कर लो. But anyway, what has happened has happened. What I see today is a readiness to admit mistakes, whether it is from Kashmir Valley or from Jammu and from Kashmiri. So this readiness to admit mistake and try to reconcile is a very positive thing that I see today. Javed, Yana both represent new age Kashmir, new politicians. They have their grievances. I think we have to create that atmosphere of confidence. Now coming to the domicile, you have been working on domicile. So can you please explain a little on the domicile? Then we'll come to the rights of voting of those Kashmiri Hindus.
Yeah. The domicile rules, as we all know, is after it's come by the reorganization of 2019, the domicile rule is that all Kashmiri Pandits, whether it was pre-1990 or post-1990, have to register themselves as migrants. There's a list of documents given. Whether it's
whether they stay in Jammu Kashmir or not.
Because nobody could have stayed. They all went out either for an opportunity because they had no opportunity in the valley. But I don't want to talk about that because that hurts and it sort of revisits the scars that you have. So I don't want to revisit them. So I'm telling you that they all who left left for jobs, because there were no jobs for us there. So we left for jobs. So it's open to all pre and post. You have to register as migrants. And there is a list of 7-8 documents that are given, which could be your father's, your grandfather's maternal side, paternal side, but you will have to have some document to prove that you were originally from that place. Once you become the migrant, you register as migrant, then you have to apply for your domicile. And for your domicile, what is very important is that you have to have your Aadhaar card. And where I found is that most of the Kashmiris actually get lost because they do not know the difference between, they say, hamare paas to state subject tha, to hum kyun karaye. So there is a lot of misinformation that if you have a state subject, you do not need to get a domicile. But you have to understand state subject was under the JNK constitution, and now domicile has come under the Indian constitution. Everybody, whether you have a state subject or not, you have to get registered first as a migrant, and then you will get your domicile. And it is initially there were a lot of problems, but we have brought it to the notice of the concerned people, and they are bettering their websites every day, but also now you can either submit it online or you can do it offline and you will get it, and it is quite quick. If you don't get it in time, you can write to the grievance cell of the governor, and it gets taken care of. And the people there have now
do they also get voting card rights?
After this, yeah, once you have a domicile, you get your vote.
But how will they vote? They are not attorneys, so how will they vote?
Now that the government has to look into how they will vote, because it is not that they went out of choice. It was because they were forced out of that place. Yeah. So according to me, the government should consider some system by which they can vote from the place where they are living currently. But that I leave to the people concerned and the authorities concerned. Yeah.
Okay. Now, second question is, somebody has raised that, the question part of this is, what do Kashmiri Hindus or Kashmiri Pandits really want? They are always unhappy, to put it lightly.
Well, one thing we have about Kashmir is we are all always unhappy, whether it's a Kashmiri Pandit or a Kashmiri Muslim.
Yeah, there is a question.
I will tell them. This is what they have to.
One Kashmiri says that there should be 2 reserve seats minimum for Kashmiri Pandits.
If you ask me, because we had 3. We represented 3 like Habakadal, Anantnag and Baramulla, which gerrymandering was done. You know what? They nibbled at the areas, put them with other areas and made a separate, made the Pandit constituency very weak. And there was a majority of I don't like to say it because I don't like to say anything else because they are my blood. I always believe that the Muslims and we are one, basically. So I can never say a word against anybody.
It's time for the Muslims to start believing that also, right?
Yeah, Yana.
Why not only left to people like us, just because we study outside and come and we know that Hindus love us, they give us acceptance.
But Yana,
but those who are living here and never leave the valley, they believe that they'll never get acceptance within the Hindus, that they'll always be treated badly and discriminated with. So I don't know how to convince them, and it's like
I had said during the first discussion, even in my book, I have said that after this nullification of 370, there's 70 years of bad blood. There is 30 years of distrust. If you look from 1990 also, forget the earlier part when it was just a normal skirmish. It may take months, it may take years. I think sustained efforts
efforts
create
are
normalcy, what will change slowly. It will not happen suddenly.
No, it's going to the point that now what is happening is going to the point that now advantage is being taken of this. You know, Hindus are trying to prove we love you, and now okay, then do this for us, do that for us. It's going to that point.
Right.
Now it's
That is
it's
where
diverging to
I
something
asked
else.
what do Kashmiri
Can I say
Hindus want?
something?
That's why I asked the
May
question.
I,
Can
may
I say
I
I didn't
something as a
ask. I
Kashmiri?
didn't ask what the Kashmiri Muslims want. I said what Kashmiri Hindus want.
No, Yana, as a Kashmiri Hindu woman and you to a Kashmiri Muslim woman, I'm saying that we have to educate our people and we have to tell them what is the truth is the truth. You have to face it. Just go back into history and see you're my blood. Go back and see you're my blood.
They are being made to believe we have nothing to do with the Batas. Okay, we have nothing to do with the Kashmiri Hindus. They are being made to believe we are a lost tribe of the Jews. They are being made to believe, and by whom? Of course, by our neighbors. So, Kashmiri Muslims have been Pakistanized to such an extent that they've forgotten that they share their bloodline with Kashmiri Pandits.
Correct.
They have even dropped their surnames. They don't use their surnames. The surnames that we have, such beautiful surnames, they have dropped them. They don't want to use surnames like Pandit, Lone, Raina and all that. They don't want to put that. They just use their father's name because they don't want to sound like they're converted. It's gone to that extent that supremacy needs to be tackled.
Yeah. So
That is one
Yana's
part of
getting more
it.
emotional.
Ajay, you were saying.
May I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to, that is one part that what Muslims must do. But the Hindu, when they return back, and they will return back to Kashmir, particularly the Kashmiri Hindus, there are 3 or 4 things which has to happen. One, there has to be closure for what happened in 1990. We know what happened 600 years earlier, what happened later on, but we do not know what actually happened in 1990. We are still people who believe to the extent that Dr. Farooqullah type of people say that it was Jagmohan. So that is one, there has to be a closure to this, and the truth has to come to the surface. Second, we will not settle in the scattered manner which was earlier the case, 25 families of the Hindus and 1,000 families of Muslims. That trust is not there, so we need a settlement at one place. That is second.
That is your view.
No, I don't agree to it.
But
But anyway,
yes,
community view.
I don't agree to
That
it.
is
I
the
want to
community
say,
view.
I want to
That is
settle with
why
the
I asked,
Muslims.
what do
Why not?
Kashmiri
If I
Hindus
love
want?
them and trust them, I'm going to do it.
Shakti ji,
Okay, now
Shakti ji,
let me
that
go
is the
back to
Shakti
Javed.
community
Munshi, full
Let
power.
me go back to Javed
Hmm.
because he's a nearest politician.
Yeah.
Whether Kashmiri Valley people would like Kashmiri Hindus to live where they were living, or they would like them in some kind of protected area. So there are 2 views. So what is your view? How would you
No, not
protect them?
protected area. Please not.
I-
That will
one
give
place
us a
settlement
very.
is not protected area.
Can I say
One place
something?
settlement is not protected
Yeah,
area.
please.
Okay.
Javed.
Okay. Please.
Well, see, when we say Kashmiri Pandits are also Kashmiris, I have a very bad feeling about it. Kashmir is Kashmiri Pandits and Kashmiri Muslims. We should not say they are also Kashmiris, they are also part of Kashmir. No, they are Kashmir. What is Kashmir? I don't believe Kashmir is this jungle, snow-clad mountains, Dal Lake. No. Kashmir is we Kashmiris. And when we say we, together Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmiri Hindus, there is no first and second. It's always Kashmiris. And I say this with pride. Even my, religion, I say, is humanity, and that is where I say Insaniyat and Kashmiriyat. They are 2 different words with same meaning. And I firmly believe in this. ये जो कश्मीरी मुसलमान और हिंदू है, कश्मीरी पंडित भाई जिनको हम कहते हैं, ये एक ही माँ के 2 बेटे हैं, बस करवट बदल के लेटे हैं. This happens. It has happened with me. जब मैं छोटा था, whenever I used to fight with my younger brother, हम अलग अलग दूसरे दिशा में मुंह करके सोते थे, लेकिन हमेशा एक साथ होते हैं. Same is the case with Kashmiri Hindus and Muslims. इनका गर्लफ्रेंड बॉयफ्रेंड वाला रिलेशनशिप है. Hate me, love me वाला. So it has always been there, क्योंकि इससे पहले भी forced exodus हुआ था, और वो सिर्फ religious leaders और preachers की वजह से हुआ था. जिस वक्त ज़ैनुल आबदीन रूल कर रहे थे, he brought Kashmiri Pandits back, और कश्मीरी पंडित्स, हमारे कश्मीरी पंडितों ने ही उनका नाम बर्शा रखा था. We should sometimes visit history. This is not the first time कि कश्मीरी जो हमारे कश्मीरी पंडित भाई है, जो कश्मीर है, उनका एक्सोडस हुआ. 30 साल हो गए. बहुत बुरा हुआ. मैं इसी एक्सोडस टाइम में ही पैदा हुआ. I couldn't get that, opportunity to learn, read from Kashmiri Pandits. I was lucky. मैंने ग्रेजुएशन करने के बाद बाहर कश्मीरी पंडित से पढ़ा. And I'm proudly saying, मेरा mentor, मेरा guide, and he is not less than my father. He's a Kashmiri Pandit. I was lucky enough to have that great man in my life. कश्मीरी मुसलमान इस चीज को मानते हैं कि कश्मीरी पंडित कश्मीर से निकलने के बाद कश्मीर में अनएंडिंग कर्स पड़ा है. और कश्मीर में डिवाइन इंटरवेंशन तब होगा जब कश्मीरी वापस अपनी बस्तियों में, अपने मोहल्लों में, अपने गांवों में.
I'd like to add something. For the sake of
डिवाइन इंटरवेंशन.
Yes.
जिस डिवाइन इंटरवेंशन की हमें काफी जरूरत है, जब तक वो डिवाइन इंटरवेंशन नहीं होगी, कुछ भी हो जाए, चाहे कश्मीर में 10 सीटें ही रहे, जम्मू में 10 सीटें ही रहे, चाहे जम्मू का सीएम बने, कश्मीर का सीएम बने, जावेद बेग आज का कश्मीरी है जिसे कश्मीरियत में, इंसानियत में, हिंदुस्तानियत में, जमहूरियत में पूरा यकीन है. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ना है, कोई फर्क नहीं.
I want to share this. I want to share something with you guys. So, growing up, I used to come to the valley, right? In every holidays, every summer vacation, sometimes in winter vacation, but mostly summer vacation. So, my bua used to live, she was married, she used to live in Baramulla those days. She now shifted to Nagin side. I haven't met her over a year in spite of being here. That's a different story. So, there's a village near her house in Baramulla where there were only mostly Pandits living. And Pandits have a lot of respect, okay, and in that gaon. And I remember, like, me and my cousins, we used to go there. There were a couple of abandoned Pandit houses there. We used to go, we actually entered one. We entered one. And I was fascinated by this bookshelf that was kept there. And there was a book over there. And I was really small, like 8, 9 years old. I don't remember what that book was, but I liked the way it looked. And I brought it to my house, to my bua's house. And I started reading it. And she asked me, where did you get it from? I said, from that house, the Pandit, the Bhatta's house. That's what they used to call it. So I used to call it. I don't know who used to stay there. She gave me a slap and she said, go keep it back. They will come back one day.
See,
okay, so this was in the last 90s. So the last part of the 90s, this was around that time. And we still have hopes that they'll come back. I don't know if that family has come back yet or not, but that is the kind of Kashmiri Muslims also that exist. I know there have been a few rogue ones who took advantage of the situation. They took over the abandoned Pandit houses, but the maximum of them are still waiting for their Pandit brothers to come back.
So, Ratanji, we have to give those Kashmiri Muslims a voice and support them who really believe in this, because there are many of them who believe that, and I met many of them.
I think that as it's talked about from 1990s, the generation that came up, they are never exposed to the India others knew. They are not exposed to Hindus, their elders knew. So that interchange, that exchange, that meeting point has to come up. And the new age, new generation must say that we will not let what happened earlier, will not let it repeat. Then there will be security, then there will be protection. Of course, I'll come to the last part. To do this, how Pakistan can stop from continuously creating insecurity with the help of terrorists, hire terrorists and killing people, isolating people, trying not to get things normalized. So what is the way out? Apart from Gupkar gang being silenced, or whether they should be isolated, that is one part. Other is, are they getting isolated? That is one important part. Or are they still the people who can sway the generations? And if that is not so, then how fast will the new generation take over from these people and see to it that they have a good answer to the terror? Because ultimately, the fear that is being created, you are also suffering from that. It is not just people, those who are outside not suffering. You are trying to get normalization, they are suffering. So what is happening now? Javed or Yana, anybody can start.
Can I say, Yana?
Yeah, please. Last 10 minutes so we can just round up this discussion. So you can take 2-3 minutes each, yes.
Ratan ji, this is a very beautiful discussion we are, getting into. But trust me, as a Kashmiri, I am craving to have my Kashmiri Pandits with me, living with me in our societies. And they need nobody's permission to come to their homeland, their motherland, their homes. Who are they seeking permission from? No. And Government of India, New Delhi is bound to provide security, not only to Kashmiri Pandits, but to all of us. But more than Government of India, more than New Delhi, it is Kashmiri civil society who have to make sure that Kashmir is safe. Kashmir is safe for everybody, not for only one religion, not for only one sect of that religion, but for everybody. Kashmir is equal for everybody, for Kashmiri Muslims, Hindus, Kashmiri Sikhs. This mindset, which was rampant in last 7 decades, is the result that Leh Ladakh, people from Leh Ladakh, they always wanted to get out of Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, people of Kargil, people of Leh, they were always mistreated by Kashmiris. I, being somebody from most upper caste Muslim, I feel ashamed when I see some people treating those Muslims from lower caste, in a very bad way. They're mistreating them, looking after them very, in a very negative way. Same way Kashmiri Pandits were treated. But we feel sorry for that. Not every Muslim have that mentality or mindset. Not everybody supports terrorism here. Not every Kashmiri is a supporter of Pakistan. No, we have a glorious history of 5,000 years. Pakistan is just 70-year-old, failed nation. Kashmiris are proud of their culture, cultural identity, and Government of India, New Delhi, has to preserve that unique identity, unique culture. Government of India is duty bound to make sure Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmiri Hindus live together in Kashmir Valley. We Kashmiri Pandits, they don't need any special zones or
no, it is not permission. It is a mechanism so that they feel no Bindru will again be killed because he was living there. We need a mechanism that even if so
Panditji, I totally agree with you. I have family terms.
Mechanism has to be there in place.
I have family terms with Shahid Makhanlal Bindru ji. Please मुझे कहने दीजिए. मैं बीरवा के उस पवित्र जगह में रहता हूं जहां अभिनव गुप्त जी की केव है. मैं बचपन से लेकर अभी तक सिर्फ एक ही ख्वाब में जी रहा हूं, कब मैं उस केव को वहां पे एक रिलीजियस जगह की सूरत में देखूंगा और मैं जाके वहां पे इबादत करूं. यकीन मानिए, I am a very
वो बिल्कुल सही है.
लेकिन I don't play politics here.
I blame you, I believe you. मैं आप पर विश्वास करता हूँ, भरोसा करता हूँ.
हमारे बीरवा में बदकिस्मती से 97 8 कश्मीरी पंडितों को शहीद कर दिया गया था. 31 मार्च था जिस दिन हम कश्मीरी शिया नवरोज मनाते. 21 मार्च. अभी तक मैं तब से लेकर अभी तक हम 21 मार्च ब्लैक डे मनाते हैं उस जगह पे. एंड आई मेक श्योर अगर जम्मू में भी संग्रामपुरा का कोई कश्मीरी पंडित होगा, मैं उसके लिए अरेंजमेंट करता हूं और उन्हें वहां लाता हूं उस दिन. दिस इज द लीस्ट आई कैन डू. एक गांव का छोटा सा छोटा सा
everyone appreciates it.
Javed ji, I really.
लेकिन onus lies on civil society. Onus lies on both Kashmiri Muslims.
Absolutely. It's high time Kashmiris should start talking. The only thing that Kashmiris garner the guts to do is talk against the government when the government makes a mistake. But they never talk against the terrorists openly. Like, when Supinder Kaul and Deepak Chand were killed, they were first identified as non-Muslims. उनके आईडी कार्ड चेक किए गए थे, फिर उनको बाहर ट्रैक करके फिर उनको मारा गया. And if you had seen the videos, you would have. If you had seen religion, let's make it very clear. One second, if you had seen the videos, रतन शारदा जी, अगर आपने वीडियोस देखे वहां सारे टीचर्स बैठ के कश्मीरी मुस्लिम टीचर्स रो रहे थे. जिन कश्मीरी मुस्लिम बच्चियों को सुपिंदर कौर जी ने she had adopted them, she was their godmother, they were crying. So the point is that when this crying society, instead of just shedding tears secretly, when they go and stand up with Supinder Kaur in her funeral and they scream slogans that end of this, now finish this terrorism. Why Supinder Kaur, they don't even speak out when their own people are dying? When our policemen are getting killed, aren't they Kashmiri Muslims? Aren't their children getting orphaned? But still they don't speak. So the toxicity of this society has happened because of the the keeping quiet thing. They're just keeping, they're not speaking out even when they're losing their own sons. Forget about this. There was a time, this was all before we were born, but there was a time for jihad. This is what I've heard people of Kupwara saying, that every family had to give up one child to join jihad. So they have gone through so much and yet they don't speak up. So when will this toxicity end? And also it has a lot to do with their insecurities. The toxicity, they're keeping quiet even after knowing that there's inhumanity happening. Reason being that they feel if Pandits come here, our rights will be taken away. They'll take away our homes, they'll take away our rights, they'll take away our jobs, they'll take away our girls. Our girls will start becoming like Hindus, and our children will start converting. They have so many insecurities. So this has become a toxic society because of insecurities, and the radicalization is within, that they're not willing to speak out even when they're losing their own children. Why, how and when will we speak up for the Pandits then? So this is a question we have to tackle. Maybe the civil society, psychiatric society has to come forward and see what has to be done about it.
I think Ved and Yana has spoken from the heart. Many people may not believe. I see many people still cynical when I see the reaction on the YouTube, but I think slowly tide will turn. But to tide to turn, I think Gupkar gang has to be isolated. So as a politician, Ajay ji, do you think government should stop talking to Gupkar gang type people and only talk to the people directly and new politician directly?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Exactly. That is my point. That there has to be a mechanism where they will be isolated and their black deeds will be exposed in a
But that
manner
won't happen, sir, because the government still calls Yana Kashmir for an interview.
Please.
Yeah, our center still calls Yana. Where is the Naya Kashmir leaders? Still Yana Kashmir is going.
No.
To give their views and opinions to Modi ji.
Please.
Nobody from the new Kashmir is being called.
Please, Yana ji, if Saudi Arabia can teach Ramayana and Mahabharata, why cannot we teach Abhinav Gupta in Kashmir? Government can introduce this, na?
Yeah,
Steps
we have
to be there, that shared
Ramayana.
history.
We have to introduce Ramayana.
Yes. That is why government has a responsibility to isolate these.
No, that is a long-term solution. My limited point was, where the short-term solution, should government not depend more and more on the young politicians, young leaders, rather than depending on the kind of
Exactly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for saying that, Ratan ji.
Stop feeding them, stop rewarding them for their misdeeds. It has to be like that, and do not care for, have a communication direct with the people of Jammu Kashmir.
Yeah, very few rewards have been given to them. Very few rewards. Palatial bungalows and Z security and all this. Like, I think more than that, I think the top of security, energy, whatever has been given to them, very less gifts have been given.
Member Parliament from Baramulla who raised pro-Pakistan slogans in Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir, and still he is Member Parliament. He must be in jail. He must be banned.
Hello.
This has to happen.
I think what we are talking about is a good opening. I think you people should be talking to each other directly in Jammu Kashmir. So this has given you a good opening. I think everybody has made the right point. And I would ask Shakti ji to wind up this discussion, because see, the most affected are the Kashmiri Hindus. From 1985, they have suffered a lot. In 1990, and the Kashmir was emptied of nearly every Kashmiri Hindu. They have suffered worse kind of indignity in life. They have faced worse kind of atrocities in the world, but for dignity, they have not turned terrorists. So for them, what does this delimitation, this possible elections in 2 years or 3 years or whenever, what does it mean?
Please do tell him that the Pandits have suffered the most, but the maximum security was given to Mr. Gilani. Till he died. Pandits have suffered the most, but government jobs were given to Gilani's grandchildren.
The solution is remove all security to all the old age politicians. Matter will be settled very easily.
Yeah,
last points.
Yeah, last point. I agree with what most of what Yana is saying. Yes, Yana, there's a lot of insecurity, but there was also greed.
Yes,
it was accompanied with greed, because the properties that they took, I have also lost the way he took it from us. So I know this, but you know what? I'm in a stage where I want to forgive and move on.
Yes.
I want to move
and focus on the positive.
Yeah, I want to look at it for the way forward. I want the next generation not to kill each other. So we have to shun these present politicians that all your ex chief ministers, they have ruined that place. Get them out. Let a new breed of politicians come in, the younger ones who are more liberal, who are more considerate about everybody. Let them come up. But I also have one thing to say to the citizens. Please don't depend on the government every time. Every time we say the central government should do this, or Okay, right now you have a central government which may do it. You may have a central government which may not do it, tomorrow for you. So you become so strong. कहते हैं ना, खुद को कर बुलंद इतना कि तेरी तकदीर लिखने से पहले खुदा तुझसे खुद पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. So why can't we do that for Kashmir? Why should a politician ruin the lives of the common man? There. Because so common citizens rise and come to that level where the politicians are scared of you. वो आपके सेवक हैं, आपके बॉस नहीं है, पर हम उनको भगवान बना के छोड़ रहे हैं. So keep them as sevak, give them a good when they do wrong, demand attention when you want to, and yes, come together. Forget the past. We have to forget the past to move on. That's my way of looking at it.
Thank you so much, Shakti ji. I think this was a very wonderful, warm, frank exchange of ideas. I thank both the Kashmir Valley friends for suffering the minus temperature, as far as I know, and sitting huddled in their blankets and rajais while coming on the TV. Look at Javed with all the big caps and all the rajais. So, and thanks Ajey ji for taking things very honestly, and Shakti ji for sparing your time. It was a wonderful discussion. I think every Indian or Jammu Kashmir people should see this and try to find the path of trust. It's not easy, I know. I will be called Gandhi and I will be slammed on the social media. But the only hope I see is that whenever I talk to young people in Kashmir Valley, I have found them very positive, whether Jammu or Kashmir. And people of our age, definitely they have old memories. They have very hard memories. Despite the people of Shakti ji's generation can say that we are ready to move on, I think the onus is on Kashmir Valley to help them move on. And let's have a very happy and prosperous Kashmir. Thank you so much. Thank you all the friends here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
much.
you, everybody.
Happy New Year.